Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Jarrell Miller, the heavyweight contender, is now officially co-promoted by Top Rank. So this has been confirmed by Bob Arum talking to the TalkBox Boxing podcast. And also, Carl Moretti, the Top Rank spokesperson, says all parties have signed off on the agreement, and this is in a story by ESPN. There is no date set for his comeback. We are currently reviewing the schedule. And before I get to some comments and some thoughts on this whole issue, so Dimitri Salita in that same story of ESPN says Top Rank promotes Tyson Fury, and with the way he can talk and fight, and with the way Jarrell can talk and fight, if they both continue to be successful, there will be a mega event in the near future. So those are the statements of Dimitri Salita, one of the co-promoters for Jarrell Miller. So before I move on, I'll just touch on Salita's comments there because he's just joined the Top Rank stable, and we'll talk about that burgeoning heavyweight stable soon. But just to start thinking that a Tyson Fury fight is going to be in the offing and relatively sharpish, I think maybe it's a little optimistic from Dimitri Salita. I mean, I don't think he's wrong in terms of the way that they can talk and the trash talk. It'd be a great build-up. And the fight, well, hard to say, but is it actually realistic at this point? Not so sure. I think Jarrell Miller has got a little bit of work to do to sort of work his way up to that. And not because he's not good enough, but just because he's rehabilitating his image right now after obviously a horrible 2019 in which he was popped for performance-enhancing substances, and that cost him a fight with Anthony Joshua. And little-known fact, Dimitri Salita has launched legal proceedings against Jarrell Miller. This was a number of months ago reported by the Boxing Esquire blog, Kurt Emhoff. So Salita looking to obviously recoup what would have been his chunk of millions of dollars that went up in smoke. So I'm sure Salita's looking at Top Rank and going, yeah, the biggest guy there who's the cash cow who can make some money is Tyson Fury. And you may recall Tyson Fury just in recent days has talked about, he may only have 3 fights left. He's talking Deontay Wilder, Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua. No mention of Jarrell Miller. Obviously Tyson Fury says all manner of things. So 3 fights, who knows? Maybe that's just all talk and hype, and he's just trying to sort of sell his upcoming fight with Deontay Wilder and trying to get people thinking this might be one of the final few fights of his career. And at 31, almost 32, he's still got years left in the division if he still wants it. But back to Miller. So he's joining a stable at Top Rank, which is really growing at a rapid rate in terms of the heavyweights who are coming in. A couple of years ago, they didn't really have too much in terms of the heavyweights. They effectively had Andy Ruiz and Bryant Jennings, and that was about it. Ruiz is gone now. Jennings is still there. Tyson Fury has joined the fold. Also, Kubrat Pulev. You've got Ajit Kabial. He's joined on a co-promotional deal. Often people forget that. He will be fighting in 2020. And in terms of an intermediary sort of step for Jarrell Miller, later in the year, I wouldn't mind seeing Ajit Kabial and Jarrell Miller because that tells us a lot about both guys. Remembering, Jarrell Miller almost sort of talked his way into a title shot in 2018 after facing, he had fought a few top 30 guys, Marius Wok, Johan Dorper, and then he dropped down when he joined DAZN to fight Bogdan Dinu and Thomas Adamek. So I don't really know, and I don't think we know how good Jarrell Miller really is. How good is he? And especially if there's a question about maybe he's had substances and, who knows if that had gone on for any length of time. We just don't know. So what's he going to look like on his return? Who's he going to fight? And maybe they could get something going in the Top Rank stable. And remembering Oscar Rivas, he's in talks to join Top Rank. So you start looking at that stable with Fury, Pulev, Miller now confirmed, Kabial. You also have other guys who are sort of good prospects on the way up. Tony Yoka, he's joining Top Rank. You have Guido Vianello, Sonny Conto, Jared Anderson. It's got the makings of a very good stable that you can have a lot of good fights. And I can't forget Carlos Takam as well. He's joined Top Rank on a co-promotional deal with Star Boxing. So someone like a Carlos Takam, that seems to be a guy that Miller might sort of target first, could be a fight that they could look to make. Easy one to make now. And Miller, you may recall from a week or two ago, had mentioned to Khan and said that he was effectively lunch food. So here's the post on screen, him talking about that. He had mentioned about potential, being on the Fury card, etc. But that's sort of come and gone now. Seemingly they left their run a little too late to be added to that. The slots have already been decided. But in terms of Miller joining Top Rank, maybe it was sort of the best of the options available, because obviously after having been with DAZN and the sort of way things ended there, that may have not been an option for him right now. And PBC, maybe he investigated those sorts of options as well, but Top Rank with the guys that they have here, I like that for Miller, because you could see him coming in against a guy like Carlos Takam, or even maybe a step below that, because they revealed on the card, the Alvarez and Seals card just the weekend before last, that it was going to be Ajit Kabayal in his first Top Rank fight against Victor Bisbal. So maybe if they're looking for, because remember, Jarrell Miller is inactive right now. He hasn't fought since 2018. So maybe instead of a Carlos Takam fight first, perhaps they look to take it a step down, that Victor Bisbal level. And given that Devin Vargas beat Bisbal in that the fight on that card, perhaps someone like a Devin Vargas might be fed to Jarrell Miller. That's a tune-up, and then he's out a couple of months later against a guy like Takam. Then you could see a logical progression to an Ajit Kabayal fight potentially, or someone like a Bryant Jennings. I could see, a path for Jarrell Miller looking like a sort of tune-up, then Takam, and then of Jennings, or something in that sort of manner. I actually think Jarrell Miller can get some fights here, and the way that he talks and trash talks, Top Rank will like that. They will potentially look to build to a Fury fight. I'm sure Salita wants that, but Tyson Fury may not have Miller in his plans at the moment, because realistically, what does Jarrell Miller bring to the table for a guy like Tyson Fury right now? Someone like Kubrat Pulev, until he's had his shot against Anthony Joshua, he won't be interested in Jarrell Miller either. So Miller can talk all he likes about wanting a Fury fight and wanting to take the mandatory away from Kubrat Pulev or whatever, that sort of stuff. But right now, he doesn't bring anything to the table except trash talk. And maybe that's a fight for 2021. Let's say if Tyson Fury lost against Deontay Wilder and had the trilogy fight, lost that, maybe they would look to make some in-house fights involving Miller and Fury. But for the moment, I think that Miller would need to sort of clean out some of the rest of the Top Rank stable to at least put himself in a big position for a fight with a guy like Tyson Fury. Where at the moment, with the rehabilitation that he needs to do, get fans back on side, or at least some fans, I'm sure some have been burned for good. He's got to go in there, look good, dispatch some guys, and it's got to be, at least before a big fight, he's got to have someone who's halfway credible to get fans really sort of knowing where his level is. Because after so many, more than a year out of the ring and facing guys like Dinu and Adamek and sort of talking his way into a title shot, I still don't think we really know his level. Some people have sort of described Miller as like an upgraded version of Derek Chisora, someone who might be good to a certain level but might come up short. But we need to see it. But I like this move to Top Rank. Someone was going to take a risk on Jarrell Miller at some point. And with his trash talking and it being the best part of a year now since the incident, about 9 months or so where he failed those tests, some people are starting to forgive. It's moving past that. And with heavyweight boxing, a number of these guys do end up failing tests over time. And, they're back in the mix sooner rather than later. And he did say a couple of months after, he said, I will be back in a big fight. I will be back fighting for a title probably sooner than people think. And he might be right. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.